Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. So in the past week I've been doing some environment sketches, just showing you guys how I build environments from scratch in my sketchbook without any fancy measurements or anything. This is more of establishing composition, getting light gestural lines out, and I did mention the rule of thirds, so if you want to know about that, I have some videos linked at the very end. They're carded at the very end on the final screens if you want to go back and check those out. But I thought today it would be a lot of fun if we did a rather strange, mysterious alien landscape. You know, there's going to be some trees in here and such. But let's put some strange, tall creatures in here, but you can't really tell what they are. Now, one of the goals that I've had with this channel is to add more environments into all of my creations. It seems that every year that goes by, I get asked more and more about my environment sketching and how to build environments from scratch. So I thought, let's do that. Now, when it comes to the alien creatures, I think what I'll do is just have some really strange, almost blob-like shapes on the top here, and maybe some very long legs. So the first thing I'm doing is establishing proportions for one, but also tension points. Okay, I'm thinking that this creature, when walking, I don't want it to seem like it's floating. Now what I'm doing here is I'm establishing the stance for our creature. I don't really know how big it is yet. I'm assuming this thing is pretty tall. Let's just throw a number out there, probably 15 feet tall. Let's just say that. And these tall, lanky legs, you know, and then of course I'll make some arms hanging down, are there for balance. Now all of this little scribbles and all of this craziness happening in between here, this will all be fleshed out later. What I want to do is just establish this thing standing and looking rather ominous. All right, so I'm going to put the second one right here, and I'm going to make it a little lighter. This reminds me of a creature that I did almost 10 years ago called the tripod. Just like a vicious head on top of 3 legs, hence the tripod name. Of course, this one has 4 legs, so we'll put that one in the back here, crisscrossing. I'm bending it right here, so you can see the bend point. Okay, that is a very, very important area because the legs are spreading out so that it can have a good center of gravity. Now let's say we do add a dude in here. Why don't we do that? Maybe we can put the dude down here and he's looking up. Maybe he's I don't know, like not a space fighter, but an explorer, a land surveyor, but for planets. And he was caught off guard. He's like, wait, what is that thing? He's got no weapons. He doesn't even know if he needs the weapons. Make sure this is in view here. He may need weapons, or these things may be harmless. Who knows? But he's just kind of standing there wondering what he should do next. He's going to phone it in to his boss, relay it back to the team, be like, hey, there's some living things on this planet and I don't really know what to do. Okay, so the next thing that I would do is cover the whole thing, especially the main subject matter, with one simple layer of shading across everything. Now right away, this technique is different for a lot of people. People would probably start to shade only the creature and leaving the back the way it is. But you have to remember, this is not cookie cutter, which means shading this first and then trying to shade the sky around it. No. Remember, when you do environments, everything is interconnected so that everything gets layered together. This astronaut, the creatures, the rocks, and whatever else I decide to put in here, they're all part of the same environment, the same ecosystem, the same mist and fog and whatever else is there. Okay, so you can always build on top of the background. I'm holding my pencil awkwardly. Hold on. I don't know if I can bend this correctly. Let's see what happens. Okay, that does not feel right. You guys don't know what it's like off camera here. I'm actually standing over the camera and trying to shade this. It's such an awkward angle, but got to do the uncomfortable ones sometimes. And try to take the glare off here. Let me adjust the lighting and then I'll get back to it. Okay, I cut down the lighting intensity a little bit, so maybe that'll help. I've actually never experimented with this luminosity before. There's like 4 or 5 settings on my Torgem lights, so we'll see how this one goes. So far so good. Okay, I don't want there to be a tangent right there, but it may look like there could be, unless the arm comes up and then the hand is here. So maybe he's like waving hi, or it's like, hey dude, what's up? You can continue to walk around. Maybe he's signaling to it with his fingers, kind of like sign language. That'd be kind of neat. And also, this is a pretty barren landscape. I don't know if there's going to be much here, but I could change my mind. All right. Okay, so I think I'm just going to go in another direction again, one that I haven't gone in before. I'm just going to tilt this a little bit. So some of the subject matter there might be off camera, but I'll adjust it back. What I'm doing is I'm adding an atmosphere. Now notice that when I'm shading across everything that I just drew, it's already lighter than the alien, the rocks, and the person. That's important because the background shading that you put in here, it's just to establish the overall tone, and just make sure that stays the lightest. You can always get darker, can't get lighter. Okay, that'll do. I think that's good for now, because we're going to be adding in a lot of atmosphere too. So I know right away that parts of the edges of this creature are not going to be seen well on purpose. I want this creature to seem like it's walking through mist or whatever else might be on this planet. You have to go up a little bit so you can see his feet. Okay. Comment below if you love drawing aliens and creatures, and let me know what kind of personal projects you're working on too. I love hearing that stuff. And I love seeing it too. We do have a Discord, everybody. It's free to join. It's called Creature Design Workshop Discord. It's a bustling community. I believe, I have to ask my moderators, I think we hit like 8,000 members, which is just absurd. And everybody loves drawing, and we love doing our monthly creature design challenges. I usually give a brief on the 1st of every month, and we have our own internal judging system based on, like likes and if people follow the rules, making sure that like the brief was followed. And it's just kind of like for bragging rights. Everybody's getting better at their own pace. Maybe a little intimidating first, but man, is it a lot of fun. So check the links in the description below for that. And I'm happy to say, with a little shameless plug here, that I started a Patreon, finally, after all these years, right? I started a Patreon in August, and it dives deeper into my creature design process. So I touch base with a lot of my creature design stuff here on YouTube, but on my Patreon, I go in depth about, with live streams. I show behind the scenes client work, stuff that I do for video games, movies, commercials, board games. And I also give you guys fun little assignments as if you're in school. And these assignments they directly correlate with trying to get a job as a freelancer, as a video game concept artist. And, just to overall improve your art in general. So if you want, join my Patreon. You can even do that for free too. And I got 3 tiers. I keep things super simple over there, man. So there's that. Okay. So for the alien, whatever this thing is, I am starting to pinpoint tiny little dark areas. Now you're probably wondering, like, what are those? These areas are designated for shadows only. Because I'm thinking that when I put in these little crevices, it'll help define the overall shape of the body. Like right here, these two little ones right here. Maybe those are armpits. Okay, maybe these things, like this zigzag shape I got going on here, maybe that is an arm. Maybe this is the shoulder and it wraps around the entire head. Remember, this is alien. Anything goes. And I will show you some techniques on the Sfumato Technique. I've gone over that before. In layman's terms, Sfumato, it's very ancient, but it is essentially some edges are sharp, other edges are ambiguous and rough and atmospheric and smudgy. But when you put those two together, you have a really cool atmospheric effect. So let me give you an example. See this tiny little edge right here? Okay, now this is defined. This is open. I can go inside that arm and travel right into the background that I shaded. I'm going to continue that. It's almost going to look like fog is bursting from the body into the background. That's exactly what I want. And what that does is if you build up that technique and see how I'm fading it off into the background like that, it gives a sense that, oh, well, maybe there's like a patch of fog that's right next to the body and he's just walking through it. That's the illusion that you want to give. Another example for some atmospheric help here. See this leg? It's like insectoid. It's darker. The reason it's darker is because it's shadowed. Well, these legs I haven't defined yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very slightly darken the left leg, the front left leg. And then I'm just going to fade off with the same fog technique as I did up here. I'm going to fade that off. So it's actually going to look like I took a brush or my finger and I smudged it, but you never, ever, ever, ever want to smudge with your finger. So you just got to give that texture with your actual pencil. So it adds interest. You got non-finished head, sharpened edge right here, faded shoulder right here, darker legs. See all the interest that's being accomplished through here? That's what you want. It's so much fun too. Is it easy? No. But it can be if you just try to compartmentalize your drawings when you're doing it. What I mean by that is, instead of trying to tackle everything at once, pick little areas that you think you can work on. Okay, this is after you establish what's going on with the background. After you establish at least indications of where you want things, then you can start plugging in minute details that may work later. So for example, when I put that alien head in there, that big bulbous shape, and then I'm working here in the background and I'm like, well, I know for a fact that I'll probably want one more critter curious about this astronaut coming over to see what his cousin's talking about. Maybe they're talking to each other telepathically. All right, so now I'm putting in some shadows. I'm going to have to do it again for this hanging front arm. Look at my pencil, everybody. See how sharp it is? You need sharpened pencils. This isn't even as dark as it's going to be. So check this out. Check this really cool technique out. So I'm going to go right here with the point on my pencil, and I'm going to darken that right there, and it's going to darken at the joint. And I'm going to fade the shading off from that joint. Same thing here in this knee. And then I'm going to fade it off. So what that does is it brings emphasis to articulation for the creature, which is a lot of fun. We haven't even gotten into the details of this thing yet. Because obviously, the creature is the focal point, not the dude. Okay, just remember that. Now the guy, or girl, they're going to be in front here, and we're probably going to want to make them darkest. As a matter of fact, we are. Not probably, we are. So maybe there's like a little ventilator right here. Maybe astronaut has some gear. because it's in the foreground. Okay, so we definitely want to honor that. Just have a good indication of this human being the forefront, trying to communicate with our fellow alien right here. And then let's just think about some shadows that we want to put on our guy. Okay, now it's going to be a little darker. I don't really care about much of the details on this thing other than just slight indications of a helmet. Okay, it's thicker than most, like it's not a normal hat, it's not a hood, anything like that. So we're going to have to play up these proportions, making sure that the pants and the boots look like space boots and space pants, or just something thick. You know, similar to hazmat suits and space gear. That seems practical. These aren't going to be, 500 years in the future with skin-tight spacesuits or anything. No. Okay. Now, the other thing that I wanted to do, I really like this shaded area right here. I'm going to put some Lovecraftian tentacles coming out right there. I'm not committing these to detail yet. See what I'm doing here? I'm even drawing over top of that guy in the background. So a little tip for those of you wanting to do some world building and you're wanting to do your little scenes like this. Whenever you do a scene, always think about the paths that your characters could be walking if they're to travel through it. It's always good to add some kind of conflict, some kind of layer of intrigue here. Now, what that means, it doesn't have to be perilous. It doesn't mean that the creature, or I'm sorry, it doesn't mean the character will be, having his life threatened or her life threatened. It doesn't have to be dangerous, but just have some kind of intrigue. Like, hey, this person is trying to get to said castle, and the only way to do it is this strange path running through this landslide or something. When you add interest like that, it helps ground the creation and it helps the viewer imagine that they're there. Okay, so another little tip here. See how I'm just working my way around this. There's nothing special about this. It's all about layering, and it's about feeling good about the composition before you go into detail. If something doesn't feel right, everybody, please do not continue it. Unless you take a step back and reevaluate with fresh eyes. A lot of times we will get frustrated, and then we will end up designing things based out of frustration, and that frustration is evident because you're just putting details on the frustration. You don't want to do that. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm adding in these strange appendages coming from the alien head. What are these? I really don't know. I don't know, and that's part of the fun. So what I am trying to do is make sure that they're at least symmetrical or somewhat symmetrical. Now this one over here on the left, it's going to be a little darker. I'm always trying to put some kind of crazy headdress on my creatures or something regal. I think it just looks cooler and just much more interesting. You got to be careful though. You don't want to get carried away with that kind of detail because it will keep going and it will clutter your design. So after this, I think what I'll do is just stop. I won't put anything else on the head because I want this to feel even, almost like this creature is trying to put up these little appendages to show that it acknowledges the human. That's what it's trying to do. I'll put in some shadows on that creature right here on our left side. See all those little details that I drew inside the head? I'm shading over that. They don't need to be there. But I do think that some tentacles are definitely in store. Watch this. See these darkened legs? Don't even care. I'm just going to draw right over them. Now, why might I do that? if I'm putting in tentacles that look like they're growing from the back of the creature or whatever, but they're going over the legs, why might I not care about that? Well, here's the answer. It's because the legs themselves were darker than the tentacles I'm placing in. So that value is already working for me. So I'm making sure that the tentacles I'm putting in the back are always going to be lighter than the limbs that are hanging down from the creature. Okay, that's how you can play up on values and be safe. Okay, the next thing I want to do is figure out the ground here. Don't really know what's going to be happening, but I do think that because the creature itself is rather oval shaped or bulbous, that a lot of the alien landscape should have those similar effects. Maybe the creature is a direct result of the environment that it lives in, which, I mean, it is, all animals are. Okay, here we are back at it, but we're at a slightly higher angle, and I changed the lighting a little bit again, just to experiment, just to see if certain lights are better than others, and I think this one's pretty good. Okay, so what I can do now is indicate with some darker lines where the mouth may be located. See how dark I'm making these tiny little shapes? This is because I'm confident of where that mouth should be. Now, I'm not overcommitting to any one jaw, one tooth, or anything. I'm just indicating where some of the shapes could exist for teeth. Maybe the open mouth is right there, and that's it. That's all I need to worry about. So now what I can do is I can take my pencil and I can slowly start shading over top of that. If you're doing this with me right now, if you're drawing a creature that's similar, when you draw darker, add some lighter values directly over top. And then you're going to hit that at angle number 2. Angle number 2 as in shifting the direction in which you shade to smooth that out. All right? So now what we've done is we've added a layer of interest right there, an area of focus. See these black lines on the side? I'm going to take small circular motions and I'm going to slowly fade those off into the body. So what this does is it kind of gives me some much needed texture and body shapes right over there, as well as taking away super harsh outlines that I don't want. It's almost like the creature has a massive overbite and this is just the tiny little bottom jaw. The mouth is open, these are the eyes, and these things are like huge apparatuses. As a matter of fact, oh man, I'm starting to discover something here that I did not plan on, and that is this little ridge. I'm just going to continue it right up into the head, and maybe it's all interconnected. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So once we do that, well, we have to do it on the other side. However, we're not committing too much detail on this side because it's almost like the light source is coming from our upper right. So this whole side of the head and this appendage is getting a rather massive highlight. So that little ridge that I put in the head, that's going to act like a separator. There we go. Okay, that's cool. I got to be careful with these because it kind of looks demonic and I don't want it to be demonic. So I'm just going to have some tufts of tentacles at the end, and maybe those are feelers for the air so the creature can kind of get a sense of air temperature and other things that it needs to do in order to survive. Okay, and then those weird things at the top, those antennae, they don't look attached. That's a problem. So what I'm going to do is add an extra ridge right here. There we go. And I'm just going to add some, I didn't want there to be a blatant face right there. It would look too expected. I wouldn't want that. So even on the side right here, I don't want those to look like ears. So I'm just going to add in some indications of some spikes. I'm having a lot of fun with that head right there. Okay, wow. Kind of looks like I when I drew the creature, it kind of looks like I split a coconut up the middle, I guess, huh? Everybody's going to see something different. Comment below and let me know what this looks like to you. Whenever I put in these strange shapes coming off of heads, like these flaps up here, someone always comments, hey, it looks rather Evangelion. I'm like, oh yeah, it kind of does. I'm a huge fan of that too. Okay, I just had an idea. You guys are witnessing this for the first time. These strange little spikes, I'm just going to fade them off, and they're going to be semi-rigid, almost like quills, like that. Maybe we can put something in, and the tentacles are the actual, are loose. Those are the ones that are wavy and they can move. But maybe these can be quills or some kind of other bodily device that enables the creature to feel the surroundings. I think that'd be kind of neat. Okay, another thing that I have to do is start working on that ground plane again. I got away from it, and I didn't mean to do that. Sometimes I get carried away and I see things that I really want to do. I'll put in some shading directly underneath it. So the way I sketch, I try to treat my sketchbook as if it's a canvas. So I try to pretend that I'm painting with my pencil and it's the year 1400. Okay, I try very hard to hit this as traditionally as possible without thinking of technology, without thinking of, what kind of tool could I use to make this easier? You know, maybe the year's 1500 and you leave your castle or you leave your village and you go plein air drawing for 2 hours. What tools are you going to use? What kind of paper do you have? You know, you're at the mercy of your own decision making. You don't have any Control Z. You don't have any you don't even have any eraser. You don't have a sketchboard, nothing. Just your sketch pad, whatever they made them out of back then, and you got your pencil, you got your observation skills in your hands. That's it. So how would you tackle that? Oh, this is an awkward angle. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to put some shadow in on that hill. There's no way that shadow's finished yet. No way, because that does not look good. We're not done. Could I stop right there? Yes, of course. So I'm just going to turn this around, and then I'll try to hit this at another angle. Now, the shadow that's being cast right on this hill is the creature. But the creature, it doesn't have a lot of width to the body. It's kind of like a giant balloon on top of a tripod with the legs spread apart. Okay, so the darkest part was probably going to be at the very top because it's closest to the body. So the shadow hasn't had time to disperse away from the body yet. And then it's lighter as it gets out towards the legs. That's it, everybody. There's not much there. So I don't want to overdo this to the point where I'm drawing something that I think I should see versus what actually would be happening. That's what happens a lot when people do perspective. Like they'll draw stuff, and that's why their perspective is off, because they're bending the shape. They're not following the rules, and they're making things visible where they shouldn't be visible because they just think it should be there. I have to be very meticulous about this because I don't want too much texture showing up way in the midground like that. One, it's too far away for you to see any details, and two, any roughness that's going to be blatantly visible would be up here towards our dude. But remember, our guy isn't going to be the focal point. Okay, so notice how I'm going up and down, up and down, up and down, but I'm going past the mound. Remember the Sfumato technique that I was showing you with the mist and everything coming off the body? I can actually, let's touch base with that again. I see another opportunity where I can put some more fog in here. There's a little blurry spot already. So I'm just going to take the value of the body, I'm just going to slowly fade it off into the air. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do it again at another angle. All right. If you've come along this far and you feel like you're having a breakthrough, outstanding. Okay, tell me what you're accomplishing for your sketches. I'd love to hear it. I love hearing those stories where people are drawing for the first time in years. That's always great to hear. And no. Okay, so see, this is a little off. This leg has to be darker. The one behind it is bent. I didn't want it to mirror the front one. I'm just trying to add some cool interest here. There may be a need for a back leg. Okay, yep. Sorry folks, it's not going to be four-legged anymore. We have a six-legger right here. Okay, so that means that, uh-oh, here we go. I'm going to darken this leg in the front, put in those joints. The second one, right there, is in front of that back one. Remember, that back one is the very back. So, atmospheric perspective suggests that when it goes in the background, it's going to be less detailed. So we have darker, or darkest, slightly darker, lighter in the background. So now there's a different tone for all three legs. I could probably go even darker right here because it still is too much alike. Okay, so that's going to be even darker. Yes, now it's popping off. That's what I like. This right here doesn't matter. Well, it does, but doesn't have to be as defined. Instead, we're going to do something fun. You ready? Oh yeah. Maybe this creature is stepping through the fog or the mist, and it's creating this spit up of dust and who knows what else. Maybe this alien planet that it's walking on, there's like a little mist geyser right there, and the dude knows that he can't go near it, but the creature lives around here, so the creature is just like, yeah, you want to come into my backyard? Come here. Now I'm just going to make these tiny little bumps slightly darker so we can see them. You know, it'd be cool if those were eggs. What if those are the creature's eggs? Maybe, what if that's the nest? That'd be kind of neat. Okay, so now that we're putting in these tiny little eggs right here, I'm going to start to put in some more details for the midground. Just like where this creature's feet's going. Maybe it really is a nest. How cool would that be? We see these tiny little bumps everywhere. Some of these are showing through the mist. Maybe the mist is needed in order to keep them safe. And I think the story is starting to unfold now. I think this explorer is traveling, maybe the ship or the village that it established on a new planet has just been erected not too far away. And all of a sudden it comes across the mama, and it does not want to disturb what's over here. So the person is just gesturing with open hands, showing that there's no threat, no weapons or anything. Looks like the hand exploded. We'll put up both hands like this. Be like, hey, 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 I don't want to do anything. I'm sorry. I'm going to back up now. And then the mama is like, okay, don't mean any harm. So I'm just trying to put value on everything. I don't want to leave any white or where the paper is. Instead, I want to make sure even in highlight, there's still value right here. There we go. Kind of looks like a big brain now. That dark spot. Okay. Maybe the eyes are on the side, but almost facing forward. Kind of like a cicada. There we go. Got to be careful with that though. Now we're getting some. See how much that face is transformed? That's totally wild. So much fun. And we're going to put in some little bumps on the body just to add some texture, add some interest. Parts of the shoulder here that could be showing through. We're going to put some bumps on it, but very faint. So like way in the back, some bumps, and then that's it. Subtleties, subtleties, subtleties. Extra fingers. Maybe that's like a hook. Remember, these are aliens, so it's not a normal hand. Okay. So now we can get into right around where the feet are for the astronaut. And maybe this astronaut has to pass through here, but isn't quite sure how to accomplish that yet because Mama is over here. And the only path to the ship is around her. So we don't want there to be any conflict. Okay. If you have a story, comment below and let me know what's going on here. I think that'd be kind of cool. I did give a little narration on one of my previous videos, but I think it would be kind of neat to hear what your takes are. I love hearing your stories. You guys are super smart. Some of you are amazing writers and storytellers. So what could be it? What could these be doing? Maybe some tentacles coming up out of here. Don't want it to look like a pineapple. I'm also trying really hard not to make it look like a xenomorph egg. Don't want that. But maybe there's like a small little larger egg right there. Now we're really starting to get a feel for all the cool environmental elements that we can put in here to really make it sing. So much fun. Okay, so now what I'm doing, I'm just trying to establish what type of dirt or sand or whatever you want to call it that our fellow friends here are standing on. Not a ton of detail, but I'm thinking that right up here on our astronaut, see where the feet are touching the ground right here? I think it would be cool if we do some shadows running directly across the feet, almost like there's a layer of mist right at the ground. Depending on where you live, like if it's in the country or if it's near a forest or whatever, you know what that looks like when you're driving along the road and you look at an open field of grass and you can see a layer of mist that's hovering near the grass blades. It just looks so cool and eerie at the same time. It triggers one of my childhood memories when I grew up watching movies, like Silver Bullet. Werewolves are my favorite creature, hands down. And I remember watching Silver Bullet for the first time, and those of you that know that movie know the scene where they go hunt for the werewolf. They bring like the baseball bat and they go in through the swamp, and there's waist high mist right there, and the werewolf is hiding underneath the mist, and it's just like getting everybody by pulling them down underneath it, and you can't see. It was terrifying. I'm gonna have to go watch that movie. Halloween's coming up, so bound to see some werewolves. Alright, so the shadow for this, I'm going to have to keep darkest right under the body. Right like that. And then that's it. I don't want to add anything else. Next, I'm just going to put some shading going straight up. It's going to add in not only indications of possible foliage, but also give a sense that that fog is going in different directions. There's so much weird stuff happening here that I think there's so much opportunity. There we go. Okay, so what I would do now is, since all of the shading and everything is right here, so we have our alien as the main focus, and then our astronaut saying, "Hey, I don't mean to interrupt." she's the secondary focus. And then of course we have the atmosphere that we're building up around here. Okay, so like tiny little eggs everywhere, tiny little indications of rocks and foliage and whatever you want to call it. Okay, and that's how I would establish a little scene. Could I keep going on this? Of course I could. But knowing when to stop is, that's good. Because I could draw this for another 10 hours and still not be satisfied, and I kind of want to do that. Alright, so comment below if you're interested in creature design, if this has helped you at all, and what are you working on? I do want to mention again that I have a Patreon dedicated strictly to creature design. I'll show you behind the scenes on what I'm doing for clients. Do live streams. I give you little assignments here and there. We go over thumbnailing, all kinds of stuff. There's some good stuff coming up for November and December too. So check the links in the description below for that one. Okay folks, thank you so much for watching me doodle this little scene here. It doesn't have to be much. Doesn't have to be much. There doesn't have to be a lot around here. Okay, but if you want to, you could put in some indications of trees. Right, like this. Oh dear, what have I done? Now I love this and I want to keep going. I was going to be done, but I'm just going to add a little bit to it. Maybe the astronaut came to a forest. It's not desolate anymore. Oh man. So much fun. Very tall trees. Maybe this was a tree stump that I had originally put in there. And I'm just going to make that darkest out of the other ones. See how I'm not committing to detail? I'm holding the pencil to the side. Coming up on the mom here, maybe the creature can't put the nest in the forest, but somewhere close to it. Maybe there's like a water source nearby. So much fun. Now with trees, a lot can be put in here. A lot. I can keep going with branches, but I don't want it to be too detailed, so I'm actually going to stop right there. Remember, less is more. I know it's a cliche thing to say, but really, less is more. I just gave an indication that there are trees here, but I don't want to go overboard with those. Just going to finish the ground right here. Maybe some indications of more foliage. Okay, I don't even know what that is anymore. Maybe it's like another tripod. There's the legs coming out. Yeah, whatever. All right, thanks everybody. This was so much fun. Let me know if you want me to keep doing this type of stuff, and I will surely answer you back and continue to do more. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. Peace.